Well, hello there, weary listener. Tonight, we're packing our bags, or, more accurately, a sad little cloth bundle, and embarking on the adventure of a lifetime. A medieval road trip. Forget your glossy travel blogs, your curated Instagram itineraries, and the very concept of a comfortable seat. We are journeying to a time when the destination was anywhere but here, and the journey itself was a spectacular exercise in misery. The main attractions on our tour will include mud, existential dread, and the constant nagging suspicion that you're being followed. Spoiler alert, the souvenir you're most likely to bring back is a persistent cough. So, let's get you ready for this ordeal. Go ahead and turn off your lights. Let your head sink a little deeper into that soft, modern invention called a pillow. Feel the weight of your blankets, a luxury our medieval traveler could only dream of. Take a slow, deep breath, and as you exhale, let go of the day. There are no deadlines on this road, no urgent emails. There is only the long, slow, unchanging path ahead. Let the gentle, monotonous drone of my voice be your guide into the uncomfortable past, and hopefully into a deep and restful sleep. Oh, and before you completely drift off, if this particular brand of historical misery is your kind of lullaby, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss out on any future suffering. And do me a favor, drop a comment below, and let me know where you're listening from and what time your brain decided to go on strike. It's always nice to know I'm not the only one up at this hour. Now, let's begin. You don't decide to travel in the Middle Ages the way you decide to book a weekend getaway to the beach. There is no thrill of anticipation. There is no joyful packing of swim trunks and sunscreen. The decision to leave your village is born of desperation, a grim calculation where the known misery of your life is weighed against the terrifying, unknown misery of the road. You stand at the threshold of your daub and wattle hut, the familiar smell of wood smoke, damp earth, and unwashed relatives filling your lungs. This is your world. Every leaky patch in the thatched roof, every splintered board of the single table. It's all yours. And you are about to leave it all behind. Perhaps a letter has arrived, carried by a messenger whose shoes are caked in the mud of 100 miles. It brings news of a dying parent in a town 3 weeks' walk away. Or maybe the harvest failed again, and the gaunt faces of your family are a constant, silent accusation. The only hope is to walk to a larger market town to sell the one pig that survived. It squeals a constant reminder of your precarious existence. It could be a pilgrimage, a desperate attempt to bargain with a god who seems to have forgotten your corner of the world. You'll walk to a distant shrine to pray for a miracle. Your faith the only thing heavier than the sack on your back. There is no Google Maps, no friendly app to show you the best route. Your knowledge of the world beyond your village is a patchwork of rumors, half-remembered stories from a passing friar, and the vague directions of a man who once traveled that way a decade ago. Follow the river until you reach the Crooked Oak, then head towards the rising sun for 2 days, he'd said. This is your navigation system. It's a terrifying prospect. The world outside is a vast, dark forest on a map that doesn't actually exist. Every step you take away from home is a step into the complete unknown. The goodbyes are heavy and stark. There are no tearful, prolonged embraces at a bustling airport terminal. It's a quiet, somber affair at the edge of the village. Your mother presses a small, hard loaf of bread into your hand, her knuckles rough against your skin. Your father gives you a nod, his face a mask of worry. Will they ever see you again? The odds aren't great. The road is infamous for swallowing people whole. Disease, bandits, starvation, or simply getting lost and wandering until you can't wander anymore. This isn't see you later. This is, in all likelihood, farewell. You check your supplies one last time. It's a pathetic collection. A water skin, a small knife, the aforementioned bread, and maybe a piece of dried salted fish wrapped in a cloth. Your wealth is stitched into the hem of your tunic, a few meager coins that you pray no one will ever find. You look at the sky, your primary meteorologist. The clouds are a bruised purple, promising rain. Spoiler alert, it will always be promising rain. A cold dread settles in the pit of your stomach, a feeling you will become intimately familiar with. It's the constant companion of the medieval traveler. The first step is the hardest. You turn your back on the only life you've ever known. The familiar smells are replaced by the cleaner, colder scent of the open air, tinged with the dampness of the path ahead. The sounds of the village, the blacksmith's hammer, the chickens scratching in the dirt, the distant cry of a baby, fade behind you. They are replaced by the sound of your own breathing and the soft, rhythmic squelch of your boots in the mud. There's no turning back now. You are officially on the road. You can't help but feel a profound sense of isolation. You are a tiny, insignificant figure moving slowly through a vast, indifferent landscape. The trees seem to watch you with a silent, ancient wisdom. The wind whispers through the tall grass, and every rustle sounds like a threat. Is that a wolf? A bandit? Or just the wind? Your mind plays tricks on you. Your modern brain screaming about the lack of cell service, the absence of streetlights, the utter and complete vulnerability of your situation. You pull your cloak tighter around your shoulders, a flimsy shield against the world. The road itself is a generous term. It's more of a suggestion of a path, a muddy track carved into the earth by centuries of other desperate travelers. It's not paved. It's not even. It's a treacherous landscape of deep, water-filled ruts, sharp stones, and ankle-twisting holes. You are constantly looking down, your eyes scanning for the next obstacle. Looking up to appreciate the scenery is a luxury you cannot afford. The beauty of the rolling hills is lost on you. You only see the exhausting climb ahead. You think about what you're walking toward: a sickbed, a crowded market, a holy relic. It's not a vacation resort. There is no cocktail waiting for you at the end of this. The best-case scenario is that you arrive, do the miserable thing you set out to do, and then repeat this entire agonizing process to get back home. This thought does not bring you comfort. It only adds another layer to the cold, heavy blanket of dread you're wrapped in. Nightfall comes quickly. The sun dips below the horizon, and the world is plunged into an inky, absolute darkness that city dwellers can no longer comprehend. There are no streetlights, no glowing signs, no ambient light pollution. There is only the moon, if you're lucky, and the suffocating blackness. You find a spot off the road, hopefully behind a large rock or in a small thicket of trees, and curl up on the cold, damp ground. Sleep doesn't come easily. Every snap of a twig, every hoot of an owl, sends a jolt of adrenaline through you. You are just another creature of the night, and you are far from the top of the food chain. Let's talk about your luggage. Forget the sleek-wheeled carry-on with a dedicated laptop sleeve and a USB charging port. Your entire worldly possession for this trip is contained within a small, lumpy sack made of coarse burlap, or perhaps a piece of cloth tied at the corners. It's slung over your shoulder, and its awkward weight is already making your muscles ache. The concept of packing light is less a choice and more a brutal reality. You bring only what is absolutely essential for survival, and even that feels like a burden after the first few miles. Inside this sad little bag is your change of clothes. Change is a singular term. You have the tunic and breeches you're wearing and one extra set. They are not made of soft, breathable cotton. They are made of wool or rough linen. The wool is scratchy, heavy, and when it gets wet, which it will, it emits a distinct, pungent aroma of damp sheep. The linen wrinkles into stiff, sharp creases that chafe your skin. The colors are a monotonous palette of brown, gray, and undyed beige. You are a walking piece of the dreary landscape. Next, you have your toiletries. This will be a short discussion. You have a small wooden comb, its teeth already missing in a few places. This is your multi-tool. It is for your hair and, more importantly, for combing out the lice and fleas that you will inevitably acquire along the way. That's it. There is no soap, no toothbrush, no deodorant. Your personal hygiene routine consists of splashing your face with cold river water in the morning and hoping for the best. The idea of skincare is so far in the future it's not even science fiction. It's just nothing. The heaviest items in your bag are, of course, the food. You have that loaf of bread, which by day 2 has achieved the consistency of a small rock. You have to gnaw at it, your teeth aching with the effort, and each swallow is a dry, scratchy ordeal. You might have a small wheel of hard cheese, its flavor sharp, and it smells strong enough to keep animals at a distance. And there's the salted meat or fish, wrapped in a greasy cloth. It's so salty it makes your tongue feel fuzzy, but it won't spoil. That's its only redeeming quality. It's not a meal, it's fuel, and terrible fuel at that. Your water supply is in a leather water skin, or perhaps a hollowed-out gourd. It sloshes against your hip with every step. The water inside already tastes faintly of leather and stale air. You drink from it sparingly because you have no idea when you'll find your next clean water source. Every stream and river you pass is a gamble. Is it safe? Or is it downstream from a village that dumps all of its waste into it? This is your version of a hydration strategy, a constant low-grade anxiety about dying of thirst versus dying of dysentery. You also carry a small, all-purpose knife. This is arguably your most important possession. It's your cutlery for hacking off a piece of rock-hard bread. It's your tool for cutting a piece of rope or trimming a branch to use as a walking stick. It's your first and last line of defense against whatever dangers the road might hold. You keep your hand on its hilt often. The feel of the worn wood or bone handle is a small, cold comfort in the vast and threatening world. It's a reminder that you are not entirely helpless, even though you mostly are. What about a map? You laugh at the thought. A map is a priceless treasure, a thing for kings and scholars, painstakingly drawn on expensive vellum. You don't have a map. You have the sun, the stars, and those vague, decade-old verbal directions. You are navigating by memory and instinct. Getting lost is not an inconvenience that makes you late for dinner. It's a potentially fatal error. Every fork in the road is a moment of high-stakes decision-making, with no one to tell you if you've chosen correctly. You've also packed a tinderbox, if you could afford one. It's a small wooden or metal box containing a piece of flint, a steel striker, and some dry, flammable material like char cloth or fungus. At night, you'll huddle in the cold, fumbling with these items, striking the flint against the steel over and over, hoping for a spark to catch. A fire is everything. It's warmth against the biting cold. It's light in the oppressive darkness. It's a way to ward off predators, both animal and human. And it's a small, flickering beacon of hope in the lonely night. As you walk, the contents of your bag seem to press into your back with a malevolent intelligence. The sharp corner of the cheese wheel digs into your shoulder blade. The water skin bounces and rubs a raw spot on your hip. You constantly shift the weight, trying to find a position that is less agonizing, but there isn't one. The strap of the sack cuts a deep red line into your shoulder. You start to resent your meager possessions, this tiny collection of items that is supposed to be keeping you alive, but feels like it's actively trying to torture you. You realize that the most important thing you're carrying isn't in the bag at all. It's a stubborn, grim resilience. It's the ability to ignore the gnawing hunger, the aching muscles, the cold that seeps into your bones. It's the will to put one foot in front of the other, over and over again, even when every part of you is screaming to stop. This isn't a journey of discovery. It's an endurance test, a battle of attrition against the road itself. And as you adjust the painful strap on your shoulder one more time, you wonder if you have enough of that resilience to make it to the end. Your mode of transportation for this grand tour is the most advanced, high-tech vehicle available to the common person. Your own 2 feet. There is no climate-controlled car, no padded seat on a train, no swift flight through the clouds. There is only the relentless, punishing rhythm of walking. Day after day, sunrise to sunset, you walk. This isn't a pleasant, restorative hike through a national park. This is your job, your commute, and your entire existence, and it is grinding you down one painful step at a time. Let's start with your footwear. You are not wearing scientifically designed hiking boots with ankle support and moisture-wicking technology. You are wearing what are essentially leather socks with a slightly tougher leather sole. They are called turn shoes, held onto your feet with a simple leather thong. They offer virtually no protection from the sharp rocks underfoot, which you feel with an intimate, painful clarity. They are stiff, ill-fitting, and have been rubbing against your heel since the first hour of the first day. A blister has already formed. At first, it was a mild, annoying hot spot. Now, it's a swollen, fluid-filled sack of pure agony. With every single step, you feel it squish and rub, sending a sharp, searing pain up your leg. You know you should stop and try to tend to it, but with what? You have no antiseptic wipes, no sterile bandages, no cushioned moleskin. Your only option is to grit your teeth and keep walking, hoping it doesn't break open and get infected. Spoiler, it will. An infected blister could lead to a fever, which could lead to death, all from a bad shoe. The physical toll is immense. Your calves burn with a dull, constant fire. Your knees ache from the repetitive impact, especially on the downhill slopes, where every step sends a jolt through your joints. Your back is a constellation of pain, thanks to the lumpy, awkward sack you're carrying. You find yourself leaning forward, a permanent stoop in your posture, as if you're walking into a strong wind even on a perfectly still day. You have become a machine designed for plodding, and the machine is breaking down. The pace is excruciatingly slow. You measure your progress, not in miles per hour, but in the slow crawl of the sun across the sky. You learn to tell time by the length of your own shadow. In the morning, it is a long, distorted giant striding before you. At midday, it shrinks to a small, dark puddle at your feet. In the afternoon, it stretches out again, trailing behind you like a ghost. This celestial clock is your only master, dictating when you start, when you rest for a few precious minutes, and when you must stop to find a miserable place to sleep. You dream of riding. Oh, to have a horse, or even a stubborn, bad-tempered donkey. You see other travelers on horseback, a nobleman with his retinue, a wealthy merchant, and you watch them pass with a deep, bitter envy. They move with an effortless speed, kicking up dust in their wake that you are left to choke on. They will cover in a single day what will take you 3 or 4. They exist in a different world, a world of speed and comfort that is as inaccessible to you as the moon. You are earthbound, tethered to the slow, painful rhythm of your own 2 feet. The sheer monotony is a form of torture in itself. The landscape changes, but your task does not. Left foot, right foot. Squelch, crunch, thud. You stare at the ground for hours on end, watching the path unspool before you. You know every crack in your worn leather shoes. You notice the way the mud sticks to them, adding weight with every step. You become lost in a trance of misery, your mind shutting down until the only thing left is the physical sensation of moving forward. It's a walking meditation, but without any of the peace or enlightenment. Sometimes, to break the monotony, you try to sing a song, but your throat is too dry and your spirit is too low. You try to think of happier times, of the warm hearth in your hut, but it only makes your current situation feel more bleak. The best you can do is slip into a state of dull, thoughtless observance. You notice the way a beetle struggles to cross the path. You watch the clouds assemble and dissipate. These tiny, meaningless details are all you have to occupy your mind and keep the despair at bay. And then there's the fatigue. It's not the satisfying tiredness you feel after a good day's work. It's a deep, cellular exhaustion that settles into your bones. When you finally stop for the night, you don't so much lie down as you collapse. Your body feels like a dead weight. You eat your wretched meal of hard bread without tasting it, your jaw too tired to chew properly. Sleep offers the only escape, but it's a shallow, restless sleep, haunted by aching limbs and the cold seeping up from the ground. In the morning, the process of getting up is a fresh agony. Every muscle protests. Your joints are stiff and creaky. For the first few minutes, you can barely stand upright, hobbling like an old man. The blister on your heel screams as you force it back into its leather prison. There is no warming up. There is only forcing your broken body back into motion. You stand, shouldering your miserable pack, and look at the endless path ahead. It looks exactly the same as it did yesterday, and you begin to walk. You are walking on what is generously called the King's Highway, but it bears no resemblance to any highway you can imagine. There is no smooth asphalt, no painted lines, no friendly green signs telling you the distance to the next town. The road is a living, malevolent entity. It is a wide gash of mud and earth, a scar on the landscape that has been deepened and churned by countless iron-rimmed cartwheels, the hooves of animals, and the feet of generations of weary travelers like yourself. It is less a road and more a shared obstacle course. Let's focus on the mud. It is the defining feature of your journey. After a rain, the road transforms into a greedy, sucking quagmire. With every step, your foot sinks, and the mud grabs hold of your shoe with a wet, sloppy kiss, trying to pull it off. You have to wrench your leg free with a disgusting schlorp sound, only to plunge it back in a few inches later. The mud is a thick, brown, foul-smelling soup, filled with things you don't want to think about. Animal droppings, rotting vegetation, and the general waste of everyone who has passed this way before. It cakes your legs, adding weight and chilling you to the bone. The road is also a graveyard of abandoned efforts. You see a massive cart, its wheels shattered, half submerged in a deep rut like a beached whale. Its owners are long gone, having taken what they could carry and left the rest to rot. The skeleton of a horse lies picked clean by scavengers, a stark reminder of the fragility of life out here. These scenes of failure do not inspire confidence. They are signposts on the path to ruin, and you walk past them with a quiet prayer that you won't be leaving your own wreckage behind. And then there are the other people on the road. Traveling is not a solitary activity. You are part of a slow, meandering river of humanity. You share the path with stooped peasants, their faces grim and weathered. You step aside for swaggering soldiers, their armor clanking, who look at you with disdain. A group of pilgrims passes you, chanting mournful hymns, their faces a mixture of pious devotion and sheer exhaustion. You might see a juggler or a minstrel, their forced cheerfulness a jarring contrast to the grim reality of the journey. You are all in this together, but you are also all alone. The sounds of the road form a strange, discordant symphony. The dominant sound is the rhythmic creak and groan of overloaded cart axles, a sound that sets your teeth on edge. You hear the bellowing shouts of merchants urging their exhausted oxen forward, the crack of a whip, the braying of donkeys, and the nervous bleating of sheep being herded to market. Beneath it all is the constant, soft squelch of countless feet in the mud. There's a surprising lack of human conversation. No one has the energy for idle chatter. The road is a place of silent, shared suffering. The smells are overwhelming. Your modern, sanitized nose is completely unprepared for the olfactory assault of a medieval highway. The air is thick with the ammonia stench of animal urine and the potent, earthy smell of manure. This is the baseline. As you pass a cart loaded with hides, you're hit with the gag-inducing smell of rot and chemicals from the tanning process. A group of fishermen trudges by, and the aroma of old sun-baked fish follows them like a cloud. You yourself contribute to the miasma, smelling of sweat, damp wool, and wood smoke. The road is a library of decay, and you are reading it with your nose. There are no rest stops, no clean bathrooms or fast food restaurants. When nature calls, you simply step off to the side of the road. There is no privacy and no sanitation. The verges of the road are a public toilet, adding yet another layer to the rich tapestry of smells. You learn to be quick and not to look too closely at the ground. This lack of basic dignity is just one more small humiliation, one more way the road strips you down to your most basic animal self. Navigating the road requires constant vigilance. The deep ruts from the carts are a major hazard. They can be a foot or two deep, and if you're not paying attention, you can easily twist an ankle, a potentially trip-ending injury. When it rains, these ruts fill with murky, brown water, and you have no idea how deep they are. You poke ahead with a walking stick, probing the depths before you commit your weight, your progress slowing to a crawl. The road is actively trying to break you. You learn to read the road's surface. A patch of soft, dark mud means a deep spot to be avoided. A section of exposed, packed earth littered with stones is a welcome relief, a brief respite from the tyranny of the mud. You start to see the road not as a path, but as a series of tactical decisions. Where do I step next? Can I make it across that puddle? Should I climb the bank to get around that broken-down cart? Your mind, free from the distractions of modern life, is entirely consumed by the immediate physical problem of moving forward. As the day wears on, the road and its challenges blur into a single, cohesive experience of misery. The mud, the smells, the sounds, the aches in your body, they all merge together. You are no longer a person traveling on a road. You are a part of the road itself, another particle of suffering being ground down by the endless journey. You look up at the gray sky, a perfect reflection of your mood, and wonder if this road even leads anywhere, or if it just goes on and on like this forever. For a time, you walk alone, with only the sound of your own labored breathing for company. But eventually, you catch up to another traveler, or a small group catches up to you. Your first instinct is a flicker of relief. Safety in numbers, you think. A shared journey might be less daunting than a solitary one. This feeling, however, is quickly replaced by a familiar low-grade paranoia. These aren't fellow tourists you can bond with over a shared itinerary. Each person is a mystery, a potential threat wrapped in a damp woolen cloak. You have joined a temporary, mistrustful alliance of convenience. Conversation, when it happens, is a cautious, awkward dance. You don't exchange pleasantries about the weather. The weather is universally terrible, and there's nothing to say about it. Instead, you probe. Headed to the market at Oakhaven, you might ask, trying to sound casual. Perhaps, the other person will reply, their eyes never quite meeting yours. No one gives a straight answer. Admitting your destination or your purpose is like handing a stranger a key to your vulnerabilities. A lone pilgrim on his way to a famous shrine might be carrying donations. A merchant might have more than a few coins in his purse. Silence is safer, so you walk together in a shared, heavy quiet. You become acutely aware of the other person's sounds. The wet, hacking cough of the man in front of you seems to echo in the damp air. You try to hold your breath when he turns his head, imagining the disease floating invisibly between you. Is it the lung fever that took your neighbor last winter? The woman behind you mutters to herself, a constant, unnerving stream of prayers or curses, you can't be sure which. This company is not comforting. It's a collection of anxieties, each one a potential source of danger or infection. Then there is the smell. You had grown accustomed to your own unique aroma of sweat and road grime, but now you are enveloped in the collective scent of your fellow travelers. It's a complex bouquet. There's the sour smell of unwashed linen, the pungent tang of stale sweat, the faint but unmistakable odor of fear. One man smells vaguely of fish, another of the farm animals he likely sleeps with. You are all contributing to this mobile cloud of human misery, a walking testament to the era's complete lack of sanitation. It is, perhaps, the only thing you truly share. The primary reason to travel in a group, of course, is the fear of bandits. You've heard the stories. Travelers stripped of everything they own and left beaten on the side of the road. Or worse. So you watch the woods that line the path, your senses on high alert. Every snapped twig, every shadow that seems to move, sends a jolt of panic through the group. The collective tension is a palpable thing. When you see figures approaching in the distance, a silent, mutual dread descends. Are they simple travelers like you? Or is this the moment your journey comes to a violent end? You place your trust in the idea that a larger group is a less appealing target. But you also know this is a fragile security. If an armed group of robbers were to descend, this loose collection of strangers would likely scatter to the winds. The man with the hacking cough is not going to defend you. He's going to save himself. It's a grim calculus. You are together only as long as it is convenient. The moment true danger arrives, you are on your own again. The company provides the illusion of safety, not the reality of it. Sometimes, however, in the shared misery, a small crack of humanity appears. As you huddle together for warmth at night, a fellow traveler might offer you a piece of their cheese. It's a gesture so unexpected, so contrary to the unspoken rule of suspicion, that it almost brings tears to your eyes. You accept it with a grateful nod, and offer a piece of your own rock-hard bread in return. For a few brief moments, you are not adversaries or potential threats. You are just two tired, hungry people a long way from home. The feeling is fleeting, but it's a warmth that the fire cannot provide. The group is always in flux. At a crossroads, the woman who mutters to herself turns south, while the rest of you continue west. There is no formal goodbye, just a slight nod as she peels away from the group and disappears down the other muddy track. Her absence changes the dynamic, the balance of paranoia shifting slightly. New travelers join, old ones leave. You are a small, anonymous part of a constantly changing organism, bound together only by the shared direction of the road. Eventually, you may find yourself alone again. The merchant reaches his town, the pilgrim his shrine. One by one, they depart, until it is just you and the road once more. You thought you wanted the solitude, a respite from the coughing and the suspicion. But now, the silence feels heavier than before. The woods seem darker, the shadows longer. The company of strangers was a burden, to be sure. But as you listen to the sound of your own footsteps, you realize, with a sinking heart, that it was the only thing standing between you and the vast, terrifying loneliness of the road. You look behind you, down the empty, muddy track. There is no one. You look ahead. There is no one. The brief, flickering candle of human connection has been extinguished, and the darkness feels more profound than ever. You pull your cloak tighter, your hand resting on the hilt of your knife, and you walk on. The road doesn't care if you are lonely. The road simply is, and you have many more miles to go. After a day that feels like a lifetime, you see it in the distance as dusk begins to bleed across the sky, a wisp of smoke curling into the air, and then the dark, timbered shape of a building. An inn. The sight sends a wave of profound relief through your exhausted body. A roof. A fire. A meal that isn't the same dry bread you've been choking down for days. In your mind, it is a palace, a beacon of hope at the end of a long, dark tunnel. This optimism, of course, is about to be brutally murdered by reality. The moment you push open the heavy wooden door, the fantasy dissolves. You are hit by a physical wall of smell. It's a dense, complex stench, a potent cocktail of spilled ale, sweat, wet wool, greasy cooking smoke, and the faint but unmistakable aroma of unwashed humanity packed into a small, poorly ventilated space. The air is so thick you can almost taste it. This is the inn's welcome, an olfactory assault that makes the fresh air of the manure-scented road seem like a sweet perfume by comparison. Your eyes adjust to the gloom. The common room is a cavern of shadows, lit by a single roaring fire in a massive hearth, and a few flickering tallow candles that give off more smoke than light. The room is crowded and loud. Rough-faced men with tangled beards are shouting over their ale. A group of merchants is huddled in a corner, speaking in low, conspiratorial tones. The floor is not clean wood. It's covered in a layer of rushes, dirt, and straw, which conveniently hides the discarded bones, spilled food, and expectorated phlegm of the guests. You have arrived at your five-star accommodation. You find the innkeeper, a large man with a stained apron and a perpetually sour expression. You barter for a night's lodging. You don't ask for a room. That's not how it works. You ask for a place to sleep. For a small coin, he offers you a spot on the floor of this very common room, near the fire. For a slightly larger coin, a true luxury, a place in one of the communal beds upstairs. Desperate for something other than the hard ground, you splurge. You hand over the coin, a painful transaction, and clutch your sack tightly as you head for the stairs. The sleeping chamber is a long, low-ceilinged room containing several massive wooden bed frames. Each one is filled with a single, enormous, straw-stuffed mattress. This is your destination. You will not be sleeping alone. You will be sharing your bed with 3, 4, maybe 5 complete strangers. Gender segregation is a concept for the wealthy and the pious. You will be sleeping next to whoever paid their coin, whether it's a snoring merchant, a feverish pilgrim, or a family with a crying baby. You find an empty space on the edge of one mattress and cautiously sit down. As you lie down in the lumpy, rustling straw, you become intimately familiar with your bedfellows. The large man next to you smells of cheese and snores with the force of a bellows, each exhalation a wet, rattling gasp. The person on your other side is mumbling in their sleep and keeps twitching, their elbow periodically jabbing you in the ribs. The entire mattress is a landscape of shifting, snoring, coughing bodies. Every time someone turns over, the whole bed sways and the straw crackles loudly. The idea of restful sleep seems like a cruel joke, and then you feel the itching. At first, it's just a tickle, then another. Soon, you realize with a sinking horror that you are not just sharing the bed with humans. The straw mattress is a thriving metropolis for fleas, lice, and bedbugs. It's their world. You're just the all-you-can-eat buffet that's passing through for the night. You try not to scratch, but the urge is overwhelming. You can feel them, tiny and unseen, crawling in your clothes and on your skin. You are paying for the privilege of being fed upon. The sounds of the inn are a symphony of insomnia. Below you, the shouting and singing in the common room continue late into the night. You hear a crash, followed by a roar of laughter. Rats scurry and squeak within the walls, so close you feel you could reach out and touch them. And all around you is the chorus of your fellow sleepers, the snores, the coughs, the whimpers, the groans. It's a deeply human soundscape, and it is utterly devoid of peace. You lie there in the dark, eyes wide open, itching and listening. You do not sleep, not really. You drift in and out of a shallow, anxious doze. You keep one arm wrapped tightly around your bag, your few possessions more precious than ever in this den of strangers. The fear of theft is as present as the fleas. You wake up with a start every time someone gets up in the night to use the chamber pot in the corner, its use adding another layer to the room's already complex aroma. You are simply waiting for the dawn, a release from this claustrophobic, infested purgatory. When the first gray light of morning filters through the single greasy window, it feels like a pardon. You extricate yourself from the tangle of sleeping bodies, careful not to wake the snoring giant next to you. You feel disgusting. Your body is a roadmap of itchy red bites. Your joints ache from the lumpy mattress, and your head pounds from the lack of sleep. You paid for shelter, and what you received was a master class in discomfort. As you creep downstairs and out into the cold morning air, you feel a sense of grim victory. You survived the night. In a medieval inn, that is the very definition of a 5-star review. Your body is screaming for calories. The day's walk has burned through whatever meager energy you had, and the gnawing emptiness in your stomach is a physical pain. The inn's common room, for all its horrors, promises food. You find a space at a long, greasy trestle table, sitting shoulder to shoulder with other exhausted travelers. You don't get a menu. You don't ask what's good. You get what the inn is serving, and you will be grateful for it. The innkeeper slams a wooden bowl and a chipped tankard down in front of you. Dinner is served. First, the drink. It's ale. Not the crisp, hoppy craft brew you might be imagining. This is small beer, the common drink of the era. It's cloudy, lukewarm, and tastes faintly of sour bread. It's brewed to be hydrating and caloric, not delicious. But it's wet, and the slight alcoholic content offers the promise of dulling the sharp edges of your aches and pains, so you drink it. You try not to think about how many other unwashed mouths have used this same wooden tankard, or what the water source for the brewing process might have been. You just drink. Then comes the main event, a bowl of pottage. This is the culinary backbone of the medieval world, a perpetual stew that lives in a cauldron over the fire. It's a thick, viscous, brownish-gray substance of indeterminate origin. What's in it? Everything. Yesterday's leftovers, scraps of meat, wilted greens, barley, oats, beans, whatever vegetables could be pulled from the garden or bought cheaply at the market. The pot is rarely ever fully emptied. New ingredients are just added on top of the old, creating a stew that might contain remnants from days or even weeks ago. You dip your wooden spoon in and take a hesitant bite. The texture is the first thing you notice. It's a lumpy, gritty mess. The barley is overcooked to a soft mush, but you also encounter the surprising crunch of what you hope is just dirt from an unwashed turnip. You find a piece of meat. It's tough, fatty, and gristly. You chew, and you chew, and you chew. The flavor is overwhelmingly bland. A hint of salt, maybe the vague taste of a withered herb, but mostly it tastes of boiled sadness. It's not a meal to be savored. It's a substance to be ingested for survival. You have no plate. Instead, you have a trencher. This is a thick, square slab of old, stale bread. The pottage is ladled directly onto it. The bread acts as your plate, soaking up the thin, greasy liquid from the stew. This is the original disposable dishware. After you've finished the pottage, you are meant to eat the trencher itself. If you're too full, you might give it to the dogs that wander the common room floor, or to a beggar outside. Tonight, you are hungry enough. You will eat your plate. The experience is a communal one, but not in a pleasant way. The man next to you is eating with his hands, shoveling pottage into his mouth and loudly slurping the broth. He uses his personal dagger to spear a piece of meat, then licks the blade clean before tucking it back into his belt. Across from you, a woman is wiping her greasy fingers on her tunic. There are no napkins. Forks are a strange foreign novelty. The etiquette of the table is raw and functional. The goal is to get the food from the bowl to your stomach as efficiently as possible. You eat quickly, your eyes down, avoiding contact with the others at the table. A shared meal in an inn is a vulnerable moment. Your focus is on your food, not on the man who might be eyeing the small coin pouch at your belt. There's a nervous energy to the room, a constant undercurrent of potential conflict. A dispute over a game of dice in the corner could easily escalate into a brawl, and you don't want your bowl of regret to be overturned in the chaos. After you've scraped the last of the mush from your trencher and gnawed on the soggy bread, a profound sense of dissatisfaction settles in. Your stomach is full, but you are not nourished. The food sits heavy in your gut, a greasy, indigestible lump. You've paid a precious coin for this meal, a meal that brought you no pleasure and whose origins are deeply, deeply suspect. Was that meat from the butcher? Or was it from an animal that died of mysterious causes? Was the water in the pottage clean? As you sit there, the bland aftertaste lingering in your mouth, your stomach begins to make a low, gurgling sound. It's a sound of protest. This is the medieval dinner gamble. You have placed your bet, and over the next few hours, you will find out if you've won a night of uneasy rest or lost to a violent bout of dysentery. You send a silent prayer to whatever saint watches over tormented digestive systems. You think of the rock-hard bread and salty fish in your own sack. It's terrible, but at least you know exactly what it is. This bowl of mystery was a necessary risk, a trade of safety for the promise of a hot meal. And as your stomach churns again, you are not entirely sure you made the right choice. You have eaten your bowl of regret, and now you must wait for the consequences. Your monotonous, muddy journey is suddenly interrupted by a new and formidable obstacle. The road ends at the bank of a river. It's not a gentle, babbling brook. It's a wide, churning expanse of brown water, moving with a powerful, relentless current. There is no magnificent stone bridge arching gracefully to the other side. Nature has presented you with a problem, and the solutions available are all varying degrees of terrible. You look at the water, then at the road that continues on the far bank, so close and yet so impossibly far away. Your first option, the cheapest and most dangerous, is to find a ford. A ford is a shallow point where you can supposedly walk across. You search up and down the riverbank, looking for the telltale signs of a crossing point. You find a spot where the banks are less steep and the water seems less turbulent. You take a deep breath, hoist your sack higher onto your shoulders, and step into the river. The shock of the cold is instantaneous and breathtaking. It feels like stepping into a bath of ice water, and it seeps through your leather shoes and woolen breeches in seconds. The riverbed is not a smooth, sandy bottom. It's a treacherous minefield of slippery, moss-covered rocks and sudden, hidden drops. You probe ahead with your walking stick, testing the ground before committing your full weight. The current pushes against your legs with a surprising force, trying to sweep you off your feet. Every step is a struggle to maintain your balance. The water is murky, so you can't see what you're stepping on. You are walking blind. One wrong step, one slippery rock, and you'll be pulled downstream, your heavy, waterlogged clothes dragging you under. You make it to the other side, but the ordeal is far from over. You are soaked from the waist down. Your clothes, heavy with water, cling to your skin, and the cold begins to seep into your bones. The wind, which was merely annoying before, is now a vicious, biting enemy, stealing what little warmth your body has left. There is no magical change of clothes, no warm towel. You will simply have to walk until you are dry. This can take days. In the meantime, you are cold, miserable, and have significantly increased your chances of catching a fever. If you are lucky, or in a more traveled area, there might be a bridge, but you must banish all thoughts of a stable, secure structure. A medieval bridge is often a rickety, swaying contraption made of wood. As you approach, you can see that some of the planks are missing, leaving terrifying gaps through which you can see the rushing water below. The whole thing looks like it was built by someone who had only a vague, theoretical understanding of engineering. Of course, the bridge is not free. At the entrance stands a bridge keeper, a dour-faced man with his hand held out. This is a private enterprise. He demands a toll. The price is exorbitant, a clear case of monopoly pricing. You argue, you haggle, but he holds all the cards. You can either pay his price or take your chances in the freezing river. With a resentful sigh, you fish out a coin and hand it over. It feels like being robbed, but with the thin veneer of commerce laid over it. You step onto the bridge, and it immediately sways and groans under your weight. You walk carefully, your eyes fixed on the wooden planks in front of you, trying not to look at the churning water visible through the gaps. You keep your hands on the rough, splintery handrail, which feels almost as unstable as the bridge itself. You share the crossing with a farmer trying to lead a terrified pig, which squeals and tries to bolt with every creak of the structure. The entire crossing is a slow, nerve-wracking exercise in controlled panic. Your final option is the ferry. A sullen, heavily bearded ferryman operates a flat-bottomed barge, using a long pole to guide it across the current. He, too, will demand a hefty fee. You are crammed onto the small boat with other travelers and perhaps some livestock, a couple of sheep, a crate of chickens. The boat sits low in the water, and with every shift in weight, it rocks alarmingly. You are packed in so tightly you can barely move, forced into an unwelcome intimacy with strangers and their animals. The ferryman is a master of the river's currents, but that doesn't make the journey feel safe. The boat seems flimsy, a small and insignificant speck on the powerful river. You've heard stories of ferries capsizing in a sudden squall, or being swept downstream by an unexpectedly strong current. You grip the side of the boat, your knuckles white, and watch the far bank approach with agonizing slowness. The ferryman is silent, his face unreadable, as if he is part of the river itself, ancient and indifferent to your fate. Finally, your feet touch solid ground on the other side. You are colder, poorer, and your nerves are shot. You have conquered the river. Your reward? You turn and look ahead. There it is, stretching out to the horizon. The road. It looks exactly the same as it did on the other side. It is the same muddy, rutted, unforgiving path. The river was just an intermission, a special attraction in the grand, monotonous theme park of your suffering. You take a breath, adjust your damp clothes, and begin to walk. For days, the landscape has been a monotonous cycle of trees, mud, and open sky. Then, you see a change on the horizon. Not just a smudge of smoke from a single inn, but a dense, dark cloud hanging in the air. As you get closer, a low, constant hum reaches your ears, the sound of 1,000 bees. And then there's the smell. It hits you long before you see the walls, a complex, layered stench that makes the simple, honest filth of the road seem nostalgic. This is the signature scent of medieval urban living, a potent mix of coal smoke, crowded humanity, and industrial-scale rot. You have arrived at a town. The transition is jarring. You pass through a massive stone gate, leaving the relative peace of the open road behind. Suddenly, you are plunged into a claustrophobic maze of narrow, winding streets. The buildings lean in towards each other, their upper stories jutting out so far that they almost touch, blocking out the sun and trapping the foul air below. You, who have grown accustomed to the vastness of the sky, now feel crushed and hemmed in by the timber, stone, and plaster closing in around you. It's a man-made canyon, and you are at the bottom of it. The sheer density of people is overwhelming. The road had its travelers, but here, bodies are everywhere. You are jostled and pushed by a relentless human tide. Merchants shout, housewives haggle, children dart underfoot, and beggars with horrifying afflictions plead for alms. There is no personal space. Everyone is in your way, and you are in everyone's way. You, the solitary traveler, are now an anonymous drop in a churning, indifferent ocean of people. The loneliness of the road is replaced by the suffocating anonymity of the crowd. The noise is a physical assault. The low hum you heard from a distance has resolved into a cacophony of individual sounds, all competing for attention. A blacksmith's hammer rings on an anvil, a relentless, percussive clang. A butcher is cleaving bones with a heavy thud. Dogs bark, pigs squeal, and from an open window you hear a violent argument. Above it all, the bells of a church begin to toll. Not a gentle melodic chime, but a loud, insistent clang that seems to vibrate in your very bones. Silence is a forgotten luxury. And the smells. Oh, the smells. The general miasma of the town is composed of specific, localized horrors. You pass a tannery, and the chemical stench of curing leather, a foul mix of lime and decomposing flesh, makes you gag, and your eyes water. You turn a corner and are hit by the metallic, coppery smell of the butcher's shop. The ground outside stained dark with blood. The worst, however, is the open sewer that runs down the middle of the street. It's a sluggish, gray-green stream of kitchen waste, human excrement, and anything else the residents of the leaning houses above have decided to throw from their windows. You learn very quickly to walk close to the walls. You are an outsider here, and it is painfully obvious. Your clothes, caked in the mud of the road, mark you as a traveler. Your wide-eyed, slightly panicked expression as you try to navigate the chaos is a beacon of naivete. You see the locals sizing you up. The shopkeepers see a potential customer to swindle. The cut purses see an easy target, distracted by the overwhelming new environment. The town guard watches you with a lazy suspicion, another piece of human driftwood washed up at their gates. You feel profoundly and uncomfortably visible. You search for landmarks, but everything looks the same. The streets are a tangled, illogical web. There are no street signs, no grid system. The town has grown organically over centuries, a sprawling, chaotic organism. You try to keep the church spire in your sights, using it as a fixed point, but then you turn a corner and it disappears behind a tall guildhall. You are instantly and completely lost. The feeling of being adrift on the open road was one thing. This is another. A feeling of being trapped in a labyrinth with no map and no exit. The very air feels different. It's heavy and damp, thick with smoke and moisture. You can feel the grit of it on your teeth. After breathing the relatively clean air of the countryside, your lungs protest. You find yourself developing a small, persistent cough, the urban tickle that is the price of admission to this concentration of human activity. You are breathing in the collected exhalations, diseases, and industrial waste of thousands of your fellow human beings. It's a stark reminder that progress, in this era, often means finding new and more efficient ways to poison yourself. You are looking for a place to stay, but the inns here seem even more daunting than the one on the road. They are louder, more crowded, and you can only imagine the density of the fleas in their communal beds. You clutch your coin pouch so tightly your knuckles are white. Every transaction here will be a battle. Every interaction fraught with potential danger. The town was your destination, the goal you'd been walking towards for weeks. But now that you're here, all you feel is a desperate, primal urge to be back on that quiet, muddy road. You finally find a slightly less terrifying-looking alley to duck into, just to catch your breath. You lean against a cold, damp stone wall, the cacophony of the main street slightly muffled. You close your eyes for a moment, but you can't shut out the smells or the feeling of the city vibrating around you. The road tested your body, your physical endurance. This place, you realize, is a test of your nerves. You have survived the wilderness. Now, you must survive civilization. You push your way through the throng towards the town square, the epicenter of the chaos. This is the market, the beating, screaming heart of the urban world. It is an explosion of color, sound, and smell. A sensory overload that makes the rest of the town seem quiet and orderly by comparison. Stalls, tents, and blankets are crammed into every available space, creating a maze within the maze of the city. This is the internet, the shopping mall, and the social media feed of the medieval world, all rolled into one loud, smelly, and deeply untrustworthy package. Your eyes struggle to take it all in. A weaver displays bolts of brightly dyed wool, a shocking splash of crimson and sapphire in a world of brown and gray. A fletcher has bundles of arrows for sale, their goose feather fletchings neat and tidy. A woman sells live chickens from a wooden cage, their frantic clucking adding to the general din. You see a stall piled high with glistening, slimy eels, and another selling mysterious lumpy sausages that you try not to look at too closely. It's a dizzying, chaotic collage of all the things the world has to offer. The sounds are even more intense than in the streets. Every merchant is a performer, shouting to draw attention to their wares. "Fine wool, fit for a queen," one bellows, holding up a piece of scratchy-looking cloth. "Hot pies! Get your hot pies!" another cries, a tempting smell of baking pastry momentarily cutting through the stench. You hear the jingle of a mountebank's bell as he tries to sell a miracle cure-all tonic from a small wooden stage. It is a battle of voices, a competition to see who can be the loudest and most convincing. You are here not as a tourist, but with a purpose. Perhaps you need to buy supplies for the next leg of your journey, or sell that one small pig you've somehow managed to herd all this way. You approach a stall, and the merchant's eyes light up. He sees your muddy clothes, your hesitant manner. He sees a mark. The art of the deal here is a brutal contact sport. There are no price tags. Every transaction is a negotiation, a battle of wits where you are hopelessly outmatched. You inquire about the price of a small bag of salt, a vital necessity. The merchant names a figure that makes your stomach clench. It's 3 times what you know it should be. You try to haggle, to offer a lower price, but your voice is weak, your arguments clumsy. The merchant scoffs, laughs, and turns to another customer, dismissing you with a wave of his hand. You are humiliated, but you are also desperate. You end up paying his outrageous price, the loss of the coins, a physical pain. You have just been professionally fleeced. While you are distracted by your disastrous negotiation, a small child, no more than 6 or 7 years old, bumps into you. You barely notice. It's only a few moments later that you feel a strange lightness at your belt. Your hand flies to your coin pouch. It's gone. The child was a professional. a tiny, innocent-looking agent of crime. You whip your head around, frantically scanning the crowd, but he has vanished, swallowed by the human sea. A cold, sick feeling washes over you. Days of savings gone in a heartbeat. The market has chewed you up and spat you out. You see things for sale that defy comprehension. A man is selling relics. A splinter of wood, he claims, is from the true cross. A feather, he swears, fell from the wing of the Archangel Gabriel. People are actually buying them, their faces full of desperate hope. Another stall sells live leeches in a jar of murky water, the primary tool of medieval medicine. You see charms to ward off the evil eye, and love potions that look suspiciously like muddy water. It's a world of faith, superstition, and brazen fraud, all operating side by side. The food on offer is a world away from your miserable road diet. There are pies, pastries, and roasted meats turning on a spit. The smells are intoxicating, a powerful lure for your empty stomach. You see a woman selling honey cakes, golden and sticky. You have one small coin left, one you had hidden in your shoe. You could buy a single cake. It would be the most delicious thing you've tasted in weeks. But that coin is also your last safety net. It could be the difference between a spot on an inn floor and another night sleeping in a ditch. The decision is an agonizing one. You watch the social dynamics of the market. You see a wealthy merchant's wife, draped in velvet, followed by a servant who carries her purchases. The crowd parts before her. You see a town guard roughly shove a beggar out of the way. There is a clear and rigid hierarchy here, an unspoken set of rules that everyone understands. You are at the very bottom of this hierarchy. You are a traveler, a stranger, a victim in waiting. Your role is to be invisible, to be cheated, and to be grateful you haven't been thrown in a dungeon. Defeated, robbed, and hungry, you retreat from the square. The noise and the crowds seem to mock you. The vibrant life of the market, which at first seemed so exciting, now feels predatory and cruel. It is a living machine designed to separate the unwary from their money, and it has worked on you perfectly. You find your way back to a quieter street, your one remaining coin a cold, hard lump against your ankle. The market was a feast for the eyes, but it has left you with nothing but a bitter taste in your mouth and an even emptier pouch. As you wander the unfamiliar streets, reeling from your experience at the market, you become aware of a new presence. The town guard. They are not the friendly, helpful police officers of a future age. They are men-at-arms, clad in leather jerkins, carrying stout wooden staves or rusty halberds. Their job is not to protect and serve you. Their job is to maintain the order of the town's rulers, and you, the outsider, are a potential disruption to that order by your very existence. You see a pair of them lounging at a street corner. Their eyes follow you as you pass. Their gaze is not curious. It is suspicious and appraising. They see your foreign clothes, your weary posture, your general air of not belonging. In their eyes, you are not a traveler. You are a potential vagrant, a thief, or a carrier of disease. You are a problem waiting to happen. You instinctively drop your own gaze, making yourself smaller, trying to project an aura of harmlessness. Eye contact is a challenge, and you are in no position to issue one. Suddenly, one of them steps forward, his staff barring your path. "You there," he grunts. His voice is flat and devoid of warmth. "State your name and your business in this town." The question hangs in the air, thick with unspoken threat. There is no right answer. If you say you're a pilgrim, they might suspect you're a beggar in disguise. If you say you're looking for work, you're a vagrant taking jobs from locals. If you say you're just passing through, they want to know why you're lingering. You are guilty until proven innocent, and the very concept of innocence is flexible. You stammer out an answer, your voice barely a whisper. You explain you are on your way to visit a sick relative in the next shire. You try to sound honest and pathetic, hoping to appeal to some shred of pity. The guard listens, his expression unchanging. He looks you up and down, taking in your muddy shoes, your worn tunic. He is performing a quick, brutal calculation. Are you worth the trouble of arresting? Do you look like you have anything worth taking? The arbitrary nature of this encounter is terrifying. Your immediate future rests entirely on the mood and digestive state of this one man. He might let you go with a shove and a curt, "Move along," or he might decide he's bored. There's a curfew for travelers, he might invent on the spot. A penny for the town coffers will settle the matter. This isn't an official fine. It's extortion, pure and simple. You know this. He knows this. But the power imbalance is absolute. You reach for that last coin in your shoe, the one you'd saved from the market's predators, and hand it over to this new one. The guard snatches it without a word of thanks and waves you on, already looking for his next victim. Justice in this world is a commodity, available to those who can afford it. As a traveler with no local connections, no guild membership, no powerful family to speak for you, you have no access to it. If you were the one who was robbed, there is no one to report the crime to. The guards would likely laugh in your face. Should have watched your purse, they'd say. The law exists to protect property and the established order, and you are neither. You are a transient, a ghost, with no rights. You witness a sudden commotion down the street. A baker has accused a young boy of stealing a loaf of bread. The boy swears his innocence, but the baker is shouting, and a crowd is gathering. 2 guards arrive. There is no investigation. There is no trial. The baker is a respected local merchant. The boy is a ragged urchin. The guards seize the crying child and drag him towards the town stocks. Justice is swift, brutal, and based entirely on social standing. You watch, your heart pounding, and feel a profound gratitude for your own invisibility. You learn the unspoken rules of survival. You walk with a purpose, even when you are lost. You avoid alleyways after dark. You never, ever count your money in public. You learn to make yourself forgettable, to blend into the background, to become part of the dirty, grimy scenery. Your goal is to pass through this place without leaving a ripple, without drawing the attention of anyone in a position of power. You are not here to enjoy the sights. You are here to survive the experience. The concept of your rights is utterly alien. You have the right to be cold, the right to be hungry, and the right to be afraid. That's it. If a nobleman's horse splatters you with mud, you apologize to the horse. If a merchant shortchanges you, you thank him for his business. Every interaction is filtered through a lens of fear and deference. You are a guest in a hostile land, and the rules are not written down. You must learn them by watching, by listening, and by praying you don't make a fatal mistake. As evening falls, a bell rings out across the city. The curfew. The city gates are being locked for the night. If you are not inside, you are stuck outside with the wolves and the bandits. If you are inside, you must be off the streets. The guards patrol with renewed vigor, their staves now seeming much more menacing in the flickering torchlight. You find the cheapest, most wretched inn you can and barter for a spot on the floor, far from the door. You lie there in the dark, listening to the sounds of the city shutting down, and you have never felt so powerless in your entire life. The law is not a shield, it is a cage. And tonight, you are locked inside it. You lie on the floor of the inn's common room, a thin, scratchy blanket, doing little to ward off the chill seeping up from the flagstones. Sleep is a distant country you cannot reach. The room is a chorus of respiratory distress. A man nearby is engaged in a deep, chest-rattling cough, a wet, percussive sound that seems to tear through the quiet. Another is wheezing, each breath a struggle. You pull your blanket up over your nose, a futile gesture. You are breathing the same air, a shared atmosphere thick with the invisible seeds of whatever ailments your fellow lodgers carry. In the morning, as you navigate the awakening town, you see the true face of medieval health. It is not a hidden, sanitized thing. It is public and unavoidable. You see a woman with a face scarred by the pox, her skin a roadmap of a past battle with a deadly foe. A man leans against a wall, his leg swollen to twice its normal size, wrapped in dirty rags. You pass a beggar whose eyes are milky white with cataracts, his hand outstretched, his voice a hoarse plea. Sickness is not in a hospital. It is on the street, a part of the daily scenery. This constant, visible presence of disease breeds a deep, gnawing paranoia. You have your own small cough, born of the road's dampness and the city's foul air. But now, in this environment, it feels like a harbinger of doom. Every time you clear your throat, you feel a flicker of panic. Is this the beginning of the lung fever? The sweating sickness you heard travelers whispering about? The one that can kill a healthy man between sunrise and sunset? You start to notice every small ache and pain in your body, interpreting each one as a potential symptom of your imminent demise. You learn to be wary of contact. You flatten yourself against a wall to let a funeral procession pass, the body wrapped in a simple shroud, carried on a wooden plank. You instinctively hold your breath as you walk by the open door of a hovel, from which you hear a weak, continuous moaning. You drink your ale from the side of the tankard that looks cleanest, and you eye the innkeeper's hands for open sores as he gives you your bread. You are engaged in a constant, subconscious risk assessment, trying to navigate a world teeming with invisible threats. The concept of hygiene is utterly alien. The water you drink is drawn from a communal well, often located perilously close to the graveyard or the sewer runoff. People handle money, then food, without washing their hands. The very air you breathe is a vector for infection. You watch a physician, a man in a dark robe, examining a patient. His method consists of smelling the man's urine from a glass flask and prescribing a poultice of herbs and pigeon droppings. Your confidence in the medical profession is, to put it mildly, not high. There is no understanding of germs. Sickness is attributed to a variety of other causes: an imbalance of the four humors, a punishment from God, a curse from an angry neighbor, or simply bad air. You hear people talking about the miasma, the foul-smelling fog that rises from the swamps and the city's ditches, believing that the smell itself is what carries the disease. It's why people carry pomanders, small balls of perfumed wax, holding them to their noses in the foulest parts of town. A fragrant but utterly useless shield. You see the leper. He sits by the town gate, as required by law, a small bell in his hand. He must ring it to warn people of his approach, his face and hands disfigured by the disease. People give him a wide berth, their faces a mixture of fear and pity. They toss coins at his feet rather than placing them in his hand. He is a living symbol of the ultimate social and physical decay, a reminder of how quickly one's world can be reduced to a slow, lonely death. Seeing him, you feel a chill that has nothing to do with the morning air. Your own body feels fragile, a temporary vessel of health in a sea of sickness. The blister on your heel, which you had almost forgotten, throbs with a dull ache. You know that if the infection were to spread up your leg, there would be no antibiotics, no miracle cure. There would be a saw, if you were lucky, or a slow, agonizing death from sepsis, if you were not. Every small cut and scrape is a potential death sentence. You are a walking collection of vulnerabilities. You think of your own family, your reason for this journey. If your relative is sick, what sickness is it? Will you be walking into a house filled with the very plague you are so desperately trying to avoid? The thought fills you with a dread that is heavier than your pack. Your journey is not just a physical one through a dangerous landscape. It is a biological gamble, a game of chance played against an army of invisible, microscopic enemies. Lying on the floor that night, listening to the coughing symphony around you, you try to control your breathing, to take shallow sips of the contaminated air. You feel a tickle in your throat and suppress the urge to cough, as if the sound itself could make the sickness real. In the Middle Ages, you learn that the most terrifying strangers are not the bandits in the woods, but the ones you cannot see, the ones that can invade your body without a sound and claim your life from the inside out. In the center of the town, looming over the cramped and dirty streets, is the church. It is the tallest, grandest building you have ever seen, a mountain of stone and faith in a valley of wood and squalor. For a pilgrim, this might be the destination, a place of spiritual solace. For you, a weary traveler, it is something else, a landmark, a potential place of sanctuary, and a chilling reminder of your own mortality. You push open the massive iron-banded oak door and step inside. The change is immediate and absolute. The chaotic noise of the town is replaced by a vast, echoing silence. The air, thick with the stench of the streets, gives way to the cool, damp smell of old stone, melting beeswax, and the sweet, cloying scent of incense. It's a holy smell, designed to elevate the spirit, but it has the faint underlying aroma of a tomb. Light filters down from high, narrow windows, illuminating swirling dust motes in long, ethereal shafts. It is dark, it is cold, and it is immense. You are not alone. A few other figures are scattered throughout the cavernous space. An old woman kneels before a statue of a saint, her lips moving in a silent, desperate prayer. A wealthy merchant and his wife sit in their own private pew near the front, their fine clothes a stark contrast to your own ragged state. You feel, once again, like an intruder. This is God's house, but it feels like it belongs to the powerful and the pious, and you are not sure you qualify as either. You are here mostly because it's a place to sit down without being moved along. You walk softly down the stone aisle, your footsteps echoing unnaturally in the stillness. You look at the images around you. Carved into the stone pillars are grim-faced saints and terrifying gargoyles. A large, dark painting depicts the horrors of hell in graphic detail, with demons gleefully tormenting the souls of the damned. It is not meant to be comforting. It is a powerful, terrifying advertisement for obedience. It reminds you that your miserable, difficult life is merely a brief prequel to an eternity of potential suffering. You sit on a cold, hard wooden bench at the back, your body grateful for the rest. your mind uneasy. The chill of the stone floor seems to creep up through the wood, a deep, penetrating cold that no fire could warm. You are supposed to feel the presence of God here, a sense of peace and divine protection. Instead, you feel small and insignificant, a tiny, shivering mortal in a vast, indifferent stone box. The silence isn't peaceful. It's heavy, freighted with the weight of centuries of fear and hope. Through a side door, you catch a glimpse of the graveyard. It is not a neat, manicured lawn set apart from the town. It is God's acre, a crowded, lumpy plot of land pressed right up against the church walls, in the very heart of the community. The dead are not distant relatives. They are your very close neighbors. You see a collection of simple wooden crosses, tilting at odd angles, and a few stone markers for the wealthy. The ground is uneven, a sign of the countless graves that have been dug, filled, and then dug up again to make room for new arrivals. You know that the town well is not far from here. You try not to think about what might be seeping from this saturated earth into the water supply. The graveyard is a constant, visible reminder of the thin veil between life and death. The people you jostle against in the market today could be interred in this crowded patch of earth tomorrow. Every toll of the church bell for a funeral is a public announcement of another small tear in the fabric of the community, and a personal reminder that your own bell will one day toll. You look at the faces of the statues, the saints and angels gazing down with serene stone expressions. They offer a promise of a better world, a heavenly reward for the suffering you endure on earth. It's a powerful idea, perhaps the only thing that keeps this whole grim society from collapsing under the weight of its own misery. For a moment, you try to feel that hope. You try to pray, but the words feel hollow. Your concerns are too immediate, too physical. The ache in your feet, the emptiness of your coin pouch, the gnawing anxiety in your gut. You think about the relics you saw in the market, the splinter of wood, the angel's feather. Here, in the church, you see a gilded box that supposedly contains the knucklebone of a long-dead martyr. Faith is a tangible thing, a force that can make a piece of bone into a source of miracles. It is the town's most powerful currency and its most potent fear. You feel the immense weight of that faith, a pressure in the cold air, and it makes you feel deeply, profoundly alone. You leave the church, stepping back out into the noise and the filth of the street. The transition is just as jarring as it was when you entered. The blinding, ordinary sunlight makes you squint. The smells of life, of bread baking, of manure, of sweat, rush back in. The church was a brief, cold, and quiet pause in your journey. It offered no warmth, no easy answers, only a stark, stone and incense reminder of the two things that govern this world: the terrifying power of God and the absolute certainty of death. You wake before the sun, not because you are rested, but because the cold floor and the symphony of snoring have become unbearable. You lie in the darkness of the inn's common room, the fire now just a pile of glowing embers, and a new feeling takes root, a desperate urgency to leave. This town, which was your destination for so long, has become a cage. You need to escape. You gather your meager belongings, your movements slow and silent, trying not to wake the other wretched souls sleeping around you. You slip out of the inn while the innkeeper is still asleep. The streets are unnervingly quiet, a stark contrast to the chaos of the daytime. The oppressive noise has been replaced by a heavy, watchful silence, broken only by the distant barking of a dog or the scuttling of a rat in the shadows. The air is cold and surprisingly clean, the daily buildup of smoke and filth not yet begun. In the pre-dawn gloom, the leaning buildings look like sleeping giants, their dark windows like closed eyes. The town feels like a different place, a ghost of itself. You navigate the maze of streets from memory, your path lit only by the faint, gray light of the approaching dawn. Every dark alleyway is a pool of absolute blackness, a potential hiding place for a thief or a drunkard. Your footsteps echo loudly on the cobblestones, and you find yourself trying to walk on the balls of your feet, to move like a shadow. You are a trespasser in the sleeping city, and you feel the prickle of unseen eyes watching you from the darkened windows above. You are heading for the main gate, but you know it will be locked until sunrise. Your goal is to be there when it opens, to be one of the first ones out. You find a recessed doorway near the gatehouse to wait, pulling your cloak around you for warmth. You are not alone. A few other figures are already there, huddled in the shadows. A merchant with a donkey, a pair of pilgrims, a farmer with a cart. No one speaks. You are all part of a silent, mutual conspiracy of departure, united by the shared desire to be gone. As you wait, the sounds of the town slowly begin to stir. You hear a baker stoking his oven, the distant clang of a blacksmith's first hammer blow of the day. A lone friar walks past, his sandals slapping softly on the stones, on his way to morning prayers. The town is a great beast, slowly, groggily waking up. You feel a growing impatience. You don't want to be here when it is fully awake, when its streets are once again choked with noise and people and the casual cruelty of the crowd. The sky begins to lighten, from inky black to a deep, bruised purple, then to a soft, pearly gray. You can now make out the massive iron-studded wood of the town gate. You hear the clank of a heavy bolt being drawn on the other side. The sound is a promise of liberation. The guards, grumpy and half asleep, swing the massive gates open with a deep, groaning creak. A sliver of the outside world is visible, the muddy road and the dark silhouettes of trees against the dawn sky. It looks like paradise. You don't wait. You join the small, eager procession of travelers heading out. You pass the guards without a glance, your head down, and step through the gate. The moment you are outside the walls, a profound sense of relief washes over you. You take a deep breath. The air smells of damp earth, of decaying leaves, of the open country. It is the smell of freedom. You have survived the city. You have escaped. You look back one last time at the stone walls, dark and imposing against the morning sky. The cloud of smoke is already beginning to gather above the rooftops. Inside that cage, thousands of people are beginning their day, trapped in the noise and the filth and the rigid hierarchies of urban life. You feel a surprising wave of pity for them. Your life on the road is hard, uncertain, and filled with misery. But it is also a life of movement, a life of open spaces. You would not trade it for theirs. The irony is not lost on you. For weeks, this town was your goal. Now, the muddy, endless road is your salvation. You have traded the complex, suffocating dangers of civilization for the simple, honest dangers of the wilderness. You prefer the threat of the wolf to the threat of the cut purse, the challenge of the river to the challenge of the merchant. The road is a terrible place, but at least it is a place where you understand the rules. You turn your back on the town and face the rising sun. The road stretches out before you, the same muddy, unforgiving path as always. But this morning, it looks different. It looks like a promise. Your pack feels a little lighter, your step a little more purposeful. You have been tested, and you have endured. You are poorer, you are hungrier, but you are still walking. And as you take your first step away from the city walls, you feel, for the first time in a long time, something that vaguely resembles hope. The relief of your escape from the town is a powerful, intoxicating feeling. For the first few hours, your steps are lighter. The open sky feels like a benediction. The air, smelling of damp earth and greenery, is a clean, wholesome tonic after the city's concentrated filth. You are a creature of the road, and you are back in your natural habitat of mud and misery. But like any powerful feeling, it begins to fade, replaced by the familiar grinding reality of the journey. The road ahead is not a welcoming friend. It is the same indifferent beast you left behind. The echo of the town lingers in your mind, a collection of unpleasant souvenirs you cannot discard. You find yourself subconsciously checking for your coin pouch, your hand patting the empty space at your belt where it used to be. The phantom sensation is a constant, nagging reminder of your loss. You replay the encounter with the guard, the way he looked at you, the casual disdain in his voice. The physical walls of the town are behind you, but the mental walls, the feeling of being judged, trapped, and powerless, travel with you. The monotony you had come to resent now feels almost like a comfort. Left foot, right foot, squelch, crunch, thud. There are no surprises here. The dangers are simple, honest ones. A twisted ankle, a sudden rainstorm, a wolf in the woods. These are threats you can understand. They are not like the complex, layered deceptions of the town, where a smiling merchant could ruin you more completely than a highway robber. You'll take the honest misery of the road over the sophisticated cruelty of the city any day. Or so you tell yourself. Days begin to blur into one another, marked only by the rising and setting of the sun. The landscape changes in slow, imperceptible increments. The forest thins out, giving way to rolling farmland. You see small, wretched villages in the distance, but you give them a wide berth. Your experience in the town has made you wary of any settlement. You prefer the company of trees and the silence of the empty fields. You have become semi-feral, more comfortable in the wild than in the places men have built. Your hunger is a constant companion now. Your supplies are nearly gone. The memory of the food in the town market, the hot pies, the roasting meat, the sticky honey cakes, is a form of exquisite torture. Your mind conjures the smells and tastes with vivid clarity, and your stomach groans in protest. You chew on a piece of tough tree bark, not for nourishment, but just to give your jaw something to do. You drink deeply from a cold stream, the water filling your stomach and trickling you into a brief, false sense of fullness. The physical toll of the journey reasserts itself with a vengeance. The brief respite of sleeping on a floor, however filthy, has made the cold, hard ground feel even colder and harder. The ache in your joints is a constant, dull throb. The blister on your heel has become a numb, calloused knot of old pain. You look at your hands. They are chapped and raw, your fingernails rimmed with dirt. You catch your reflection in a still puddle and barely recognize the gaunt, wild-eyed stranger staring back at you. The road is carving its map onto your body. You are walking toward your destination, but it feels more and more like an abstract concept. The idea of a warm bed, a real meal, a conversation with a loved one. It all seems like a story about someone else. The only reality is the next step, and the one after that. The journey has consumed the destination. You are no longer a person traveling to a place. You are simply a person who travels. It is what you do. It is who you are. The solitude settles back in, but it's different now. Before the town, it was a simple loneliness. Now, it's a conscious choice. You see other travelers in the distance, and you actively slow your pace or find a reason to stop, letting them get ahead. You don't want the shared suspicion, the awkward silence, the potential for betrayal. The company of your own miserable thoughts feels safer than the company of strangers. The town has taught you that the greatest danger to a person is another person. A cold, steady rain begins to fall. It's not a violent storm, just a persistent, soul-dampening drizzle that soaks through your woolen cloak and chills you to the bone. It turns the road back into a river of mud. Every step is a victory against the sucking mire. You pull your hood low, the water dripping from the tip of your nose, and you keep walking. You do not stop. To stop is to let the cold win. To stop is to admit defeat. You find a small overhang of rock to spend the night, barely shelter at all. You curl into a tight ball, shivering, your wet clothes clinging to you like a second skin. You are hungry, you are cold, you are exhausted, and you are utterly alone. The walls of the town are miles behind you, but in the dark, you feel more trapped than ever. You are trapped in your own body, trapped in this endless journey. And as you drift into a fitful, shivering sleep, you wonder if you ever truly escaped at all. You are huddled under the meager shelter of a large oak tree, trying to wait out another sudden downpour. The rain is coming down in sheets, turning the world into a gray, blurry watercolor. You are soaked, miserable, and your stomach is a hollow, aching void. You've been chewing on leaves for the last hour, which has done nothing but make you feel like a sad, damp sheep. It is a moment of pure, unadulterated wretchedness. It is, in other words, a perfectly average Tuesday on your journey. Through the curtain of rain, you see a figure approaching. Your body tenses instantly. Your hand goes to the hilt of your knife, a familiar reflexive gesture. Every instinct, honed by weeks on the road and sharpened by the cruelty of the town, screams threat. You watch as the figure gets closer. It's a man, walking with a steady, unhurried pace, seemingly unbothered by the deluge. He is dressed in the simple brown patched robe of a friar, a rope for a belt, his feet clad in worn leather sandals that must be utter misery in this mud. He sees you under the tree and changes his course, heading directly for you. Your grip on your knife tightens. This is it. A trick. He'll get close, ask for a blessing, and then his 3 large friends will emerge from the woods. You brace yourself. But as he comes to a stop a few feet away, you see his face. It's old, deeply lined, and his eyes hold a look not of malice, but of a profound and weary calm. He offers a small, gentle smile. "A foul day to be on God's road, my child," he says, his voice quiet and raspy. You offer only a grunt in reply, your eyes narrowed with suspicion. The friar doesn't seem to notice or care. He unslings a small, wet sack from his shoulder and rummages inside. "It is not much," he says, pulling out a lump wrapped in cloth. "But the Lord provides, and it is not meant to be hoarded." He unwraps the cloth to reveal a small, dark loaf of bread, and a wedge of hard, pale cheese. The sight of it, the smell of it, makes your stomach twist with a painful, desperate longing. He breaks the loaf in half. It is a dense, heavy bread, the kind that fills the belly. He holds out one half to you, along with a piece of the cheese. You stare at his outstretched hand. Your mind is a whirlwind of calculation and mistrust. Why? What does he want? No one gives away food for free. This is a currency more valuable than coin. Is it poisoned? Is it a test? Is this some elaborate new form of robbery you haven't encountered yet? The world as you know it does not contain this kind of random, unprompted kindness. Your hunger, however, is a more powerful force than your suspicion. After a long, tense moment, you slowly reach out and take the food. Your fingers brush against his, and his skin is cold and damp. "Thank you," you manage to whisper, the words feeling strange and foreign in your mouth. He simply nods and begins to eat his own portion, chewing slowly and methodically. You retreat to your side of the tree trunk and begin to eat, your eyes never leaving him, taking small, cautious bites at first, as if testing for poison. The bread is coarse and a little stale, and the cheese is sharp and salty. But it is the most wonderful thing you have ever tasted. It is real food, solid. It fills the aching void in your gut, and with it comes a warmth that has nothing to do with temperature. You eat in a shared silence, the only sound the drumming of the rain on the leaves above, and the soft sounds of your chewing. For the first time in a long time, you are sharing a meal with another human being without fear. The feeling is deeply unsettling. When he is finished, the friar brushes the crumbs from his robe, gets to his feet, and gives you a slight bow of the head. "May your path be safe," he says. And then he turns and walks away, disappearing back into the gray curtain of the rain, leaving you as suddenly as he arrived. He asked for nothing. He wanted nothing. He simply saw another person in need and shared what little he had. You are left alone under the tree, the last piece of bread clutched in your hand. The encounter has shaken you more than any threat or act of violence. It has introduced a new, confusing variable into the grim equation of your world. The existence of a single act of selfless kindness makes the endless landscape of selfishness and cruelty seem both more stark and, somehow, less absolute. It doesn't make the world safe, but it proves that it is not entirely damned. You finish the last of the bread, the unfamiliar taste of gratitude lingering in your mouth. The rain begins to soften, the downpour easing into a drizzle. You look down the road in the direction the friar went, but he is long gone. You are still wet, still cold, and still a long way from your destination. Nothing has fundamentally changed, and yet, as you step out from under the tree and back onto the muddy path, the world feels different. It is still a terrible place, but it is a terrible place where a man might give you half his bread in a storm, for no reason at all. And that, you realize, is a very dangerous thing to have hope in. The world you walk through is not empty. It is not just a collection of trees, rocks, and streams. It is a living, breathing text, and you are constantly trying to read its portents. Your medieval brain does not see the world through the lens of science and logic. It sees it as a place saturated with meaning, a constant dialogue between the mundane and the supernatural. Every flight of a bird, every strangely shaped cloud, is a potential omen, a message from God or a trick of the devil. You see a single magpie sitting on a fence post, and you instinctively make a sign to ward off bad luck. A small, subtle gesture you learned as a child. One for sorrow, the rhyme goes. You spend the next hour in a state of heightened anxiety, waiting for the sorrow to manifest. When two more magpies fly chattering across your path, you feel a profound sense of relief. Two for mirth. The world has balanced itself again. This is your version of checking the daily horoscope, and it carries the weight of life and death. The natural world is a minefield of unseen rules. You walk around a hawthorn tree, never under it, for you know it is a tree of the fairies, and to disturb it is to invite their wrath. You come across a perfect circle of mushrooms in a meadow, and you give it a wide berth, a fairy ring. You've heard stories of travelers who stepped inside and were forced to dance until they died of exhaustion, or who were transported to the fairy realm for 100 years. You are not willing to test the validity of these tales. Your journey is governed by this invisible map of superstition. You feel a spider crawl across your hand, and you let it go, because to kill a spider is to invite bad financial luck, and yours is already as bad as it can be. When you hear a wolf howl at night, you are not just afraid of the animal, you are afraid of the darkness and wildness it represents, the untamed power of the world beyond your small, flickering fire. You throw a pinch of salt from your dwindling supply over your shoulder after a meal, just in case. This is your personal risk management strategy. The world is chaotic and unpredictable. People get sick and die for no reason. Harvests fail. Bandits appear on a previously safe road. In the face of such overwhelming uncertainty, these small rituals and beliefs provide a fragile illusion of control. You cannot stop a fever, but you can avoid walking on a grave. You cannot prevent a robbery, but you can say a prayer when a black cat crosses your path. It is your only defense against the random cruelty of fate. At night, the world becomes even more charged with supernatural energy. The wind whistling through a crack in a rock sounds like the wail of a lost soul. The hoot of an owl is not just a bird call, it is a premonition of death. You lie awake, listening to the sounds of the dark, and your mind, steeped in 1,000 folk tales, populates the shadows with goblins, ghosts, and demons. Every rustle of leaves is a footstep. Every gleam of moonlight on a wet stone is an eye watching you. You cross an old stone bridge over a rushing stream, and you whisper a quick prayer to the local water spirit, the genius Lochi. You don't know its name, but you know it is old, and it is best not to offend it. This is a faith that runs deeper and older than the one you find in the stone churches. It's an earthy, practical paganism that coexists with your Christian beliefs, a safety net for the things that God seems too busy to manage, like grumpy river spirits and mischievous pixies. You even navigate by superstition. The locals in one village told you to avoid the path through the Whisper Wood, for strange things happen there. So you add a full day to your journey, taking the long way around. Is the Whisper Wood actually haunted? Or is it just a favorite haunt of a local gang of thieves who invented the story to scare travelers onto a different road? It doesn't matter. The fear is real, and it is a powerful enough force to change your path. You stop to rest, leaning against a large standing stone in a field. It's ancient, covered in moss and lichen, and it hums with a strange, quiet energy. You feel a sense of awe and fear. Who put it here? Why? It is a remnant of a time before your God, a silent testament to older, darker powers. You leave a small, flat stone on top of it as an offering of respect before you move on. A small tribute to the deep and mysterious history of the land you are walking through. As you prepare to sleep, you perform your nightly rituals. You draw a circle around your sleeping spot with the tip of your knife, a symbolic barrier. You place your shoes with the toes pointing away from you, so that your spirit does not wander off while you dream. These are the last conscious acts of your day, a final attempt to impose a small circle of order on a world that is fundamentally, terrifyingly chaotic. You close your eyes, hoping that you have done enough to appease the countless invisible forces that share the road with you. You have been walking for so long that you have forgotten what it feels like to be still. The rhythm of your own footsteps has become the baseline of your existence, the metronome of your life. The world has shrunk to the few feet of muddy path directly in front of you. Your thoughts, once a complex tapestry of hopes, fears, and memories, have been worn smooth by the sheer grinding monotony of the journey. There is no space for complex thought. There is only the next step. Your mind, starved of new stimuli, begins to feed on itself. You have conversations with people who are not there, replaying arguments from years ago, whispering replies to the empty air. You sing the same 2 lines of a song over and over again until the words lose all meaning and become just a sound, a vocal tick to accompany your stride. You count your steps, lose count, and start again. This is the ultimate digital detox, and the withdrawal is a slow, creeping madness. The boredom is so profound, it is almost a physical presence, a heavy cloak you cannot shrug off. You begin to lose your own story. Who were you before you started walking? The face of your mother? The smell of your own hut? The reason you even started this journey? It all becomes foggy, like a half-remembered dream. You are no longer a person with a past and a future. You are a pair of aching legs, a grumbling stomach, and a set of eyes that stare blankly at the endless, unspooling road. The journey is erasing you, sanding you down to your most basic, functional components. The landscape, which once held a terrifying beauty, is now just a backdrop of unchanging green and brown. You cease to notice the details. A majestic old oak is just another tree. A soaring hawk is just another shape in the sky. Your senses, once on high alert for danger, have been dulled by exhaustion and repetition. You are walking through the world, but you are no longer truly seeing it. You are a ghost in your own life, haunting the lonely roads of a forgotten kingdom. You feel a strange detachment from your own body, the pain in your feet, the gnawing hunger, the constant chill. They are all still there, but they feel as though they are happening to someone else, a weary animal you are forced to inhabit. You observe its suffering with a distant, clinical interest. You are a pilot in a failing machine, and your only job is to keep it moving forward, one painful step at a time, until it finally, inevitably, breaks down. There are moments, rare and fleeting, of a strange clarity. You stop to drink from a stream, and for a second, the cold, clear water on your tongue brings you crashing back into the present. You look at your own reflection, a stranger's face, and for a brief, terrifying instant, you have no idea who you are. The moment passes, and the fog rolls back in, and you get up and start walking again, because that is all you know how to do. You've become a part of the road, as much as the stones and the mud. You have no desires beyond a dry place to sleep and a piece of bread that isn't hard as a rock. Your grand human emotions have been whittled down to a few basic animal instincts: fear, hunger, and a stubborn, mindless will to survive. You have paid a high price for your travels. You have traded your sense of self for the miles you have covered. And in the deepest, quietest hours of the night, a new fear emerges. One more terrifying than bandits or wolves. You fear that when you finally reach your destination, there will be nothing of you left to arrive. You will be a hollow shell, an automaton of travel, and you will simply keep walking, past your goal, and on into the horizon, because the road is all that remains of you. You have walked so far from home, you are no longer sure you can ever truly find your way back. Then, one afternoon, it happens. You crest a low, rolling hill, and through a break in the trees, you see it. In the distance, nestled in a curve of a river, is a town. You see the unmistakable shape of a church spire, a dark needle against the gray sky, and a thin, hazy cloud of wood smoke hanging over it. A jolt of pure, unadulterated adrenaline shoots through you, a feeling so powerful it almost brings you to your knees. It is a feeling you had forgotten you were capable of. Hope. Your body, which moments before was a symphony of aches and fatigue, responds as if it has been given a magic potion. Your pace quickens, your head lifts, and you are no longer staring at the mud in front of your feet, but at that distant, beautiful smudge on the horizon. The aches are still there, but they are drowned out by a roaring in your ears, the sound of your own heart pounding with anticipation. You have made it. You are almost there. The road itself seems to confirm your arrival. You begin to see more signs of civilization. The muddy track widens slightly. You see the neat plowed furrows of a farmer's field, a sign that you are leaving the true wilderness behind. You pass a shepherd with a small flock of sheep, and you almost shout a greeting. Your spirit so buoyant, you forget your ingrained suspicion of strangers. The world is rematerializing from the gray fog of your journey. You walk for another hour, your eyes fixed on the town. But a strange thing happens. It doesn't seem to be getting any closer. The church spire remains a distant, taunting needle. The cloud of smoke does not resolve into individual chimneys. The horizon is a liar. It shows you your destination, but hides the true, soul-crushing distance that still separates you from it. The burst of energy you felt begins to drain away, replaced by a familiar, bitter frustration. You are in the final stretch, the longest mile of your journey. Every step now feels twice as long. You had allowed yourself to believe the end was in sight, and the road is now punishing you for your optimism. Your body, having been tricked into a false sense of arrival, begins to shut down. The aches return with a vengeance. The fatigue is a leaden weight in your limbs. You are forced to slow your pace, to return to the familiar, plodding rhythm of mere survival. You pass another traveler, a farmer heading home from the fields. "Is that Oakhaven?" you ask, your voice hoarse, pointing a trembling finger at the distant town. The farmer squints, then lets out a short, humorless laugh. "Oakhaven? No, friend, that's Stillwater Crossing." Oakhaven is a good day's walk past it, on the other side of the river. The words hit you like a physical blow. Your destination, the one you had pinned all your remaining hope on, is not even the town you are looking at. A wave of despair so profound it is almost peaceful washes over you. You want to laugh, or cry, or simply lie down on the side of the road and let the mud reclaim you. You have been walking towards a mirage, an illusion conjured by your own desperate need for the journey to be over. You have been betrayed by your own eyes, by your own hope. The road has played its cruelest joke on you yet. You stand there for a long moment, watching the smoke rise from the wrong town. The shepherd you passed earlier is now just a small dot in the distance. The sun is beginning to dip towards the horizon, painting the clouds in shades of orange and purple. It is beautiful, and you hate it. You hate the beauty of a world that can be so endlessly, casually cruel. There is nothing to be done. There is no other path. There is no choice but to keep going. You take a deep, shuddering breath, a sound that is half sigh, half sob. You turn your gaze away from the false promise of Stillwater Crossing and look back down at the road. It is still there, waiting for you. You shoulder your pack, which now feels heavier than ever before, and you force one foot in front of the other. The hope is gone, and only the walking remains. The next day passes in a blur of grim, mechanical motion. You do not look at the horizon. You do not allow yourself to hope. You simply walk. You pass through Stillwater Crossing without stopping. A small, dirty town that feels like a monument to your failure. You pay a ferryman your second-to-last coin to cross the river. And then, in the late afternoon, you see another spire, another cloud of smoke. This time, you feel nothing. You will believe it when your feet are on its cobblestones, but the road begins to change in undeniable ways. You are now part of a steady trickle of people heading towards the town gates. The path is wider and more packed down, less a muddy trail and more a proper, albeit filthy, road. The smell of wood smoke is thick and constant in the air. You pass a tanner's yard, and the familiar, gag-inducing stench is the most welcome smell in the world. This is it. There is no doubt this time. You have arrived. You walk through the gates of Oakhaven. The noise, the crowds, the smells, they all rush at you, just as they did in the last town. But you barely register them. You are a ship that has been at sea for months, and the solid ground feels strange and unsteady beneath your feet. Your legs, so accustomed to the constant rhythm of walking, feel jittery and weak. The world seems to be swaying slightly. You have stopped moving, and the silence of your own non-motion is deafening. There is no triumphant fanfare. There is no welcoming committee. No one notices your arrival. You are just another piece of human debris washed up at the town's edge. You lean against the cold stone wall just inside the gate, your body trembling with a fatigue that is beyond comprehension. The journey is over. The endless walking has ceased. You have reached your destination. You have succeeded. And all you feel is a vast, hollow emptiness. You look down at your own feet. They are caked in mud from a dozen different shires. Your shoes are worn through in places, your toes peeking out. They are the feet of a stranger. They are the feet of a traveler. They have carried you here, but they do not know how to be still. You have spent weeks with a single, overriding purpose: to walk. Now that the purpose is fulfilled, you are adrift. What do you do now? The reason for your journey, the sick relative you came to see, feels like a detail from a story you read long ago. You must find them. You must ask for directions. You must navigate this new maze, interact with new strangers, face a new set of challenges. The end of the road is not an ending at all. It is merely the beginning of the next ordeal. The misery of travel is simply being replaced by the misery of the destination. A town guard gives you a shove. Don't just stand there, vagrant. Move along. You stumble forward, pushed back into the human current. You are anonymous, exhausted, and utterly spent. You have walked across the known world, endured hardship and hunger, and survived. Your reward is to be yelled at by a bored man-at-arms. It is a perfectly medieval conclusion. You find a quiet alley and slide down the wall, pulling your knees to your chest. You close your eyes, and in the darkness behind your eyelids, you can still see it. The road, stretching on and on, forever. The journey is over, but the road will be with you for the rest of your life. It is carved into your memory, into your muscles, into your very soul. You have arrived, but you will never truly leave the road behind. And so you rest, or you try to. You've made it. But as you sit there in that filthy alley in a town that is not your home, take a moment. Feel the profound, bone-deep weariness. Feel the lingering chill of 100 damp nights. Feel the emptiness of your stomach and your coin pouch. This was not an adventure. This was a form of long, slow, grinding torture that people undertook not for fun, but out of grim necessity. Now, just for a second, come back. Feel the softness of your pillow under your head. Feel the gentle, even weight of your blanket. Notice the silence in your room, a silence deeper and more peaceful than any art traveler ever knew. You are not in a smoky, crowded inn. You are not on a cold, damp patch of ground. You are safe. You are warm. You are comfortable. The greatest luxury we have is not our technology, our entertainment, or our food. It is our stillness. It is the ability to end our day in a safe and comfortable place, free from the gnawing anxieties of survival that were the constant companions of the past. The journey is over. There is no road tomorrow. There is only rest. So let the memory of that endless, muddy path be a final, gentle push into the comfort of your own bed. Let the suffering of the past be the lullaby for your present. Good night, weary listener, and until next time.